Well, hi, welcome to my latest video. Well, in this one, I'm going to finally be presenting part 2 of my new network upgrade utilizing prosumer equipment rather than the consumer equipment I've been using up to this point. Big difference is I want to be able to add PoE pretty much across the board. At least, it'll be like 95, 97%. And also have the capability of having all equipment incorporate VLANs. Now, a key to that is to make sure that I have a router that supports that. And this new router that I purchased will support it. And you'll be surprised when you look at the size of this thing, okay? Because it's not what you'd expect. And also, I'm going to get a new wall-based wireless access point. And that should cover this entire building that I have my home office in, which is 3 floors, but there's no real locked heavy doors between them. So it should work pretty good. We'll find out. If not, I can always expand that. So what I'm going to do here is next I'm going to go through a quick presentation showing you exactly how it's going to be configured and how things are going to be laid out, including a quick picture from one of the network design pieces of software to show you how it will look in the rack. Not to say that'll be the final configuration, but that's the configuration I have in mind right now. And then I will, in the final part of this video, I will actually bring a couple of pieces of that equipment out on the bench here and show you, as I open it up, what they come with. I won't do that with all the equipment, the unpacking of it, just those 2 for now, because they are somewhat unique to stuff that I bought in the past. And then once I have it all together, I'll be configuring it probably on that workbench over there. I'll pre-configure everything so that it has all of the basic configurations, all of the updates and everything, and wired in the same fashion that it will be wired in the rack. But obviously with it all stacked on a workbench, which is another reason to use that one, because this table here is not strong enough to support the weight of all that, especially with all the PoE equipment that I'll have in there that's quite heavy. So we'll see how it goes, but let's get started and take a look at the presentation, and I'll see you back here in a little bit to show you the opening of at least the first 2 units that are important to this environment. Okay? Okay, now let's go over a quick presentation that describes the details of my new network that's coming into existence quite soon. On the screen here, you'll see 2 areas mapped out, which represent the 2 parts of my current network. There's my network rack, which is the largest component that has most things in it, and it's down in my den area near my editing workstation for YouTube. And then up here in the studio/lab, because I've now added a workbench over here as well, as some of you may know, I have a smaller network that's linked up to the larger network through a dedicated Cat7 line that I ran through the walls. So they're both together, and it's at 10 gig speed connection between the 2 components of this network. So the first thing we have is going to be a Ubiquiti Cloud Gateway Fiber. Now the Cloud Gateway Fiber is a fairly new and fairly high performing device. It actually has 3 10 gig ports and 4 2.5 gig ports on it. But if you had just this connected up to your ISP and further on into the internet, all you would be able to do is wired connectivity. So the next thing that I added is a Ubiquiti U7 Pro wall. Now that'll be Wi-Fi 7, latest and greatest. It's tri-band, so it'll do the 2.4 gig, the 5 gig, and also the 6 gig. So it does support all of them. And I have it in a strategic location within my home office, the center of the building, and it should provide fairly good connectivity throughout the points that I need it anyway. Also notice what we have down in the lower left-hand corner, and that's the color legend showing the cabling types. So right now I'm using Cat6 cable to connect the Ubiquiti Cloud Gateway Fiber to my modem, but the modem is using fiber to connect to the internet. Okay, I'm sure there are many gateways in between that, but at least the connection coming into my home office is fiber. Then further, I'm using again a Cat6 cable over to the Ubiquiti U7 Pro wall, and that particular port, that last one of the 2.5, also provides PoE, sufficient amount to provide power over to that Ubiquiti U7 Pro wall. So with this, if this is all we had, it would be a working network. We'd have 4 more wired ports at 2.5 gig, and we would have a fairly robust wireless connectivity throughout the building. But let's keep going. I need more ports. In particular, I'm going into 10 gig big time. So what I've done is I bought a fairly new switch that's Ubiquiti sells, the Ubiquiti Pro XG10 PoE. This has 10 gig ports, not counting the two uplink and downlink fiber ports that it has. And I will be using one of those to connect up to the Ubiquiti Cloud Gateway, as you can see. These 10 ports, in addition to being 10 gig, are also PoE triple plus, which provides quite a bit of current to them. So even small laptops and other larger devices can be run directly over PoE if connected up to this switch. Okay, that's a good thing. Moving on, I need more ports than that. My home office has at least 30 ports throughout, counting both 10 gig, 1 gig, and some that really are not quite at the 1 gig speed. You know, they'll be running at something that's more like 100 meg, like a printer port here and there. So what I did is I've got the Ubiquiti Pro HD24 PoE, and it has 24 2.5 gig ports that are all PoE plus plus, double plus. So a little slightly less current capability than that 10 gig switch above it. But it also has 4 fiber ports for connectivity between the switches, and I will be using that, as you can see, as well. Next, I have the line that I've already mentioned. I have a Cat 7 cable run up through my walls from my office downstairs, which has my rack in it, up to my studio. And that's what I use all the time. It's been there quite a while. I put that in pretty early in the upgrade of this studio, so it's something that I do depend on. It's not fiber, it's just a regular RJ45 Cat 7 cable. It's shielded, double shielded. Each pair is also shielded. So even though I don't think I'm passing through utilities, it never hurts to be a little extra. It's kind of hard to put connectors on that. It's better to go to the actual wall connectors in order to do it, right? So that's exactly what I did here in this case. Now, connected in my studio, another new device, the Ubiquiti Flex 10 GBE. And what this has on it is one 1 gig port, which happens to be PoE input, and 4 10 gig ports that I can use here in my studio when I'm testing something out that I want to run faster than 1 gig. I can then do 2.5 or even 10. I mean, this PC that's over here that I'm using to make this video, for example, in my studio, that's also my live streaming, it currently has only a 2.5 gig interface card in it. That's on the motherboard, but I'll be adding a 10 gig card to that so that I can run it at maximum speed. But in addition to this, I am going to reuse my Zycell XG1250-12 switch that I have that's sitting right over here right now and running all of this in the studio today. It has 3 10 gig ports, and one of those happens to be also fiber, so I get to test fiber in here with it, and it has 8 1 gig ports. And it fully supports VLANs, which is one of my big growth features of this new network, so it'll be able to fit in with the Ubiquiti equipment as well, as long as I establish the same VLANs on it. I'll talk about that later. But that switch is going to go on the wall over next to my workbench on the other end of this room. So that way, when I'm testing something at the workbench, I'll have access to the network, even at 10 gig speeds. And sometimes I'll be filming stuff over on that workbench. I already have a camera hookup that can come down and look from above, just like I have here on my desk. Now, I'm showing here what the speeds of every port are. And in the left-hand corner here, you see now I have a breakdown of the port speeds in colors. So the ones you see in red are 10 gig ports. Some of them are fiber, some of them are RJ45 type connectors, for regular Cat 6 type cable. The orange ones are 2.5 gig, and you can see there's the largest number of those exist on my Ubiquiti Pro HD24 PoE. Down in the studio equipment, which is going to be here, we're going to have 10 gig, and we're going to have 1 gig. There's really not going to be any 2.5 gig ports here, but that's okay. I'll have sufficient 10 gig to do what I need. And at the 10 gig ports, the non-fiber ones anyway that I have, they will also run at 5 gig or 2.5 gig. So that's a pretty good thing. Now, in addition to that, I just finished adding 4 more lines down in my basement. I want to expand my network down there. So I ran them through the ceilings and through the walls and got them all working already. Once I get this equipment, I just have to plug into the wall jacks and we're ready to go. But I'm going to put a switch down there. Maybe not at first, it won't be in this first round of updates, but in a future expansion to this. So if you look at what I have here, I'm adding another segment to my network in the basement called the basement aux. And this basement aux will have a Ubiquiti Flex 2.5 gig PoE, the only piece of equipment that I'm showing here that I haven't bought yet or already owned. So that one's yet to be purchased. But it doesn't cost that much, and I will get it when I'm ready to go with that. It'll be connected up through a single port that happens to be a 2.5 gig port that can be connected to a 10 gig socket or cable or both, and it can be driven through the PoE coming through that cable. And guess where I'm going to connect that? Up to my Ubiquiti Pro XG10 PoE, because that's going to be not only 10 gig, but PoE triple plus, which is going to be great for powering the power needed by that Ubiquiti Flex 2.5 PoE. And then the ports that it provides are regular PoE, a PoE plus, I believe, but maybe plus. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that when I give the next update to this. So that's the current network layout that I am planning with this, okay, in terms of equipment and how they're going to be, connected together. Oh, by the way, that Ubiquiti Flex 2.5 gig, that's 2.5 gig on those ports, in addition to the two 10 gig, which is one is an input port, but that's a shared 10 gig port. It has, in one case, a fiber, and in the other case, it has an RJ45. You can't be using both of those ports at the same time. I had that currently with my current 10 gig switch, but it is going to be connected up, as I said, to the 10 gig PoE switch in the rack. One thing that I did show here, but I didn't mention so far, is you see this dotted line that connects the Ubiquiti Pro HD24? Well, that is going to provide PoE input to the Ubiquiti Flex 10 GBE. So the two dotted lines, I picked two different types of dots just to distinguish them. The dotted line ones are PoE that's powering a device. In both cases here, powering a switch. So we're going to get a pretty good capability spread throughout without having to run additional power lines or use up power lines, for example, that I have a limited supply of down in my basement and up here in my studio. Now I just summaried here by each of the solutions what the total capability happened to be. This first one tells you what I currently have. How many 10 gig SFP pluses, how many 1 gig SFPs, how many 10 gig RJ45s, how many 2.5 gig, none currently, 1 gig RJ45s, and what the throughput in gigabits per second are for each of those combinations. The total summary of what my current rack is able to do is 180 gigabits per second, an important number to remember. Now, if you look down in the table below, none of the current devices have PoE. So they are missing that capability. But that's what I have in place today that's going to be pretty much replaced, except I'm going to reuse and repurpose the Zycell. Now, this slide shows the same type of information, but for my new network with many 10 gig ports on it, RJ45 mostly, but a couple of extra SFP pluses as well. And then you look at the total throughputs that it has. Now it's up to 291.7 gigabits per second. That comes out to almost double what I have currently. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for making sure that I can get a lot of equipment working at the same time. Okay. But in addition to that, the additional throughput and capability of data transfer, I also have a lot of PoE, pretty much except for the Zycell. Every other switch that I have has some capability of PoE, whether it's being driven by PoE, it's getting its power from it, that is, or it's providing PoE, or both. So that's the updated network. Again, this is without the basement setup. In this next one, I've included the basement setup. So I've added in here the Flex 2.5 gig PoE, and what it adds to the big picture. And so this will bring us up to 321.7 gigabits per second, and also providing some additional PoE capability. Now, this is a breakdown, an actual diagram that I used to create the new network. This doesn't exist yet. It's only on paper, as you see here, but it shows all the equipment as it's going to be placed in the rack, where it's going to fit. There's some stuff here I haven't talked about. For example, a new 64 terabyte custom NAS. I haven't decided on what operating system, what NAS operating system I'm going to put in there yet. It might be Sigma NAS or it might be something else. We'll see what I decide once I have it up and running on the desktop here, okay? So that's something that's coming. I've also added a keyboard shelf that I can pull out with a keyboard and mouse. And down at the bottom, and I'm not going to bring that up here. It's going to stay down there because it's so heavy. It's going to have a 2U UPS that can support up to 2,200 watts of power to the entire network in this rack. And it's needed because of all the PoE stuff that I had. So that's a big add in terms of power capability. I also had to run a new 20 amp circuit over to my breaker box in order for me to power that thing, because the one that was there before was just a 15 amp, and that's not enough. I'm going to moving stuff around. A lot of stuff is in the same place. I'm going to put my current NASs as backups. Now, they're either going to be on the bottom of the shelf on either side of this rack, or I'm going to utilize a shelf above the rack. I haven't decided that yet. This is the way I tentatively have it laid out. It's going to have the same cooling system that I have. It's going to have the monitor. It's going to have power distribution on this side over here in terms of switchable power, manual switchable, that is. And then it has, of course, the connections for the RJ45 Cat5 cables that are coming into my security system. So that's all on here. So that's what it'll look like. Once it's all said and done, I wouldn't bet money that it's going to exactly look like that once it's in place, because sometimes you find as you do it, you have to move stuff around, right? Let me tell you a little bit the VLAN theory. I figured I'd throw that in here because it's important. It's one of my main reasons, other than PoE and some general other features that the new equipment provides, that I was trying to gain from this upgrade. Let's start off with a single 24-port router. It also has 4 additional ports that are used to, chain it to other routers and other switches, okay? Well, this is what I currently have, this type of switch. It's not the ubiquity one, but it's one very similar. One thing I like about this particular switch is everything is on one plane. It's one giant row from left to right, whereas my current one, my TP-Link one, it puts 12 and 12 on top of each other, which makes the cabling in the rack a lot messier. So this is going to be a nice clean cabling, in the rack, as you will all see as I'm building it. See, have a switch like this and it has VLAN support. Well, it's almost like splitting the thing into multiple switches. So for example, we could actually take, just as an example, 5 smaller switches, and we could use those 5 switches to be functional as if they were individuals, completely isolated from each other. VLANs give you that capability. The same number of ports, but logically inside the actual larger switch, they are mapped together in groups called VLANs, local area networks to be exact. Now, how are they wired? Well, if you want to imagine it right, I use different colors for each grouping too. You have a 5-port capability linked together here, another 5-port here. I put blue on those lines and red on these. I got one with only 2 ports here. That's in green. 2 ports usually is not practical, but for VLANs, it could be. And then another 5-port, another 5-port. That was like an orange, and then this is like a dark violet. And then finally, in gray, we have a 4-port one. And that's usually also bringing in 2 of the ports that are for fiber. Now, why would you really want to do this? Well, it gives you 2 large capabilities. One of the capabilities is it provides network traffic segregation. So if we have, let's say, a device that's over on one port talking to another port on, let's say, this blue one over on the left, well, the traffic between those 2 devices will only go directly between them. None of the other ports outside of this group of 5 will ever see that traffic, right? They will not, and therefore it won't impact their throughput. But more importantly, it also provides a layer of security, because if somebody were sniffing on one of those ports with a sniffer device, they would not see the traffic that is being done in that group. And that holds true for all of these 6 groups that I have here, completely isolated. Obviously, with that, security is a big advantage here, because having 5 separate ones that do not share traffic, well, that's a big security plus. Now, if you want one of the ports, let's say one of these purple ones, to talk over to a blue one, it can do that, as long as you've set up the proper traffic rules between those 2 VLANs. Now, VLANs are identified in a particular way. They're tags. So the general practice is to start at 10 and then move up 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, just so you have room to squeeze one in if you happen to have to do that. So this is really the advantage of VLANs and how it logically works. So I just wanted to cover that quickly and give you the big picture here. We'll be talking about this in future videos a lot more. Okay, let's move on to taking a look at some of the equipment that I actually have that's being prepped for this. I'm not going to put it all up here on my desk, but I'll put a couple of things together so you can see what it looks like. Okay, let me cover my router first, my new router. This is the Ubiquiti, it says right inside of the box here, Cloud Gateway Fiber. It's hard to see it there, I'm sure. But let me open it up. It has not been opened up yet at all. Let's get this out. There we go. It's got a power supply. It's also got wraps on it that I'll take off before I power it on, but I'll leave that on for now. it comes with a, well, it looks like a ether lighting cable. Looks like the 1 foot version. Now that's nice because it's got a nice, it's not plastic, it's actually got a cloth cover to it. That's good. What do we have here? We have some little pieces here. I'll have to open up and figure them out. I think those are the feet. Yeah, I think those are the feet that go in the bottom of that. But I'll put it on the side for now. Okay. This comes open, and we have the power cord. And then this one here, giant white rubber band. This one here, fold over trick. That's about 18 inches. So I would say that this is about 3 feet. Okay. Supposed to have a template here for the feet. Oh, it's here. It's sitting underneath this. This is a template you put on the bottom if you're going to put the feet on it. That gives you the proper position to put the feet. Now I may be putting longer feet, so I'm not sure if I'll even be using this to any extent, but we'll see. Okay. And let's take a look at this guy. I'm not going to do a full blown out review of this before, at least in this video, unless somebody, after they see this, they think they need it. But there's a lot of reviews online about it. It's a very powerful router, and it can be used for controlling cameras as well. It has an M2 NVMe slot that you need a key to open up. I don't see the key. It might be in one of those packages. I'll go look for it in a little bit. In order to push this and unlock this little covers, but you do have to buy a separate drawer, from what I understand, to hold the NVMe. I bought the unit with no NVMe pre-installed, okay? Because I have a different security system right now, and if I decide to change security systems, then I may consider putting an NVMe in here. But we'll see. Let's take a look at this. It's got 3 10 gig ports. 2 of them are SFP plus and 1 is an RJ45. It also has 4 2.5 gig ports. That's for local area network or anything else you want to redefine them to. One thing nice about this, from what I've read and what I've seen other videos on, is you can define any port to be anything. So I can put the WAN port as any of these 7 ports, right? Yeah, 7 ports. Doesn't matter. I can redefine it accordingly, even though they do suggest that you put the WAN in either the RJ45 10 gig or the SFP 10 gig port. You don't have to do that. Some people, if they only have one gig internet, like I happen to have right now in this home office, they'll use one of these ports to free up all the 10 gig ports. Well, one of these 10 gig ports will be used to link it over to my next switch in line with this, which you have probably seen in the presentation, where I have a linkage between this one and my 10 gig 10 port switch. Okay, now I'm not going to set it up until I have all the other equipment taken out of their boxes, but the way it's supposed to be done, from what I've seen, you can do it with your phone. I believe it uses Bluetooth for doing that, but I'm not 100% sure. But you connect up, if you want to do it with a laptop, which is the way I'm going to do it, you connect up one of the recommended WAN ports with the little globe on them up to the internet. Now I may be connecting to the one in the studio here, which is removed from my direct modem provided by my ISP that's down in my rack. It's removed a couple of switches to get to here, but that's okay, it'll still work. And then I'll hook the laptop up to one of these other 1 gig ports. And once I do that, I can go to ubiquity.ui.com and it should find it. Most people say as soon as they open up their browser on their PC or laptop, it pops right up, and then you do the initial configuration. So just want to throw that out there. I'm going to demonstrate probably at least part of that once I have all the equipment put together on the workbench over there, okay? But let's go ahead and put this aside for now, and then we'll open up the next thing I want to open up. This one here, which is my U7 Pro Wall tri-band Wi-Fi 7 access point, okay? Again, this has not been opened yet. This is the first time. Let me find the pull cord on it. There it is right here. There we go. A lot less dramatic than the previous one. And then it pulls out this way, and it should come right out. So I already have the spot picked out for this downstairs. It's actually central to the entire building, but here it is. And what this has is just a single RJ45 connector that's 2.5 gig from what I understand. Okay, that's all I need. That's all I plan on needing in terms of the wireless, but you know, I could always change that in the future, right? It's got a really nice white plastic covered front panel to it. Now, it's not going to be very visible where I'm putting it. It's going to be behind a black plastic screen just to keep it out of the way so that people don't bump into it, because it'll be mounted to a wall vertically like this. Okay, actually probably like this. That's the bottom. And so I'll mount it onto that, and we'll connect up this port probably to the one of the 2.5 gig ports that's on my new router that also provides PoE plus, which is enough power to drive this. Okay, so if you think about it, this is all you need to set up a pretty decent network. I saw a couple of people actually making videos explaining that particular configuration. Mine is going to be a bit more complex than that, but I did want to show it. What do we have here? Oh, it comes with a leveling panel, so you can level it. It's got a level bubble in there. Look at that. Okay, and it comes with a mounting bracket to mount it up to the wall. Gives you several different ways to screw it in place. It comes with screws. Yep. It comes with anchor screws and also regular screws, depending on how you want to do it, I guess. What is this? A little Allen wrench. I guess these screws are Allen head screws, or at least some of them are. We'll see. Anyway, let me go leave it at that. I think I've shown what I wanted to show in this video. In part 3, I will be getting into the actual layout of the entire set of Ubiquiti equipment. It's all sitting right here in boxes. And you'll be surprised when I show it to you, because it includes things like this. I actually bought the rack keystone jacks to connect all of my cables. And I also bought a whole bunch of keystones, and I bought a bunch of these little cables, just like the one that came with the router. I bought them in different lengths, right? This is the one that came with the router. That's an ether lighting one, right? All the ones I bought are ether lighting. The ones that'll go long distance, like down to wall connectors, they won't be. At least not all of them. Maybe one or two might be, but we'll see how that goes. But this is what I'm going to show you, so I do thank you for watching, and until the next time, thanks.